Welcome to the Zero to Business podcast, episode 3. We're Jakob and Hendrik, and the Zero to Business podcast is a little podcast about how can you start your business from zero up until your first business and your first clients and your first, successful business, if you say that. This episode, we're going to talk about the first steps. First steps of business, the first steps of that you do when you decide to start a business. And with that, welcome to this episode, Jakob.
Hey guys, exactly. It's great to actually talk to you again, and thanks for having me, Hendrik. As Hendrik said, yes, today is very interesting part because we want to really talk about what are the steps, what is the process before actually starting the first business, right? We won't talk about how to get clients and so on, like what would you do when you already have a business, but all of the things before, right? So maybe you're right now working your current job and you want to start something part-time, right? Like you side hustle something and you want to register it and so on. So yeah, those are the things we'll basically talk about, right? So Hendrik, maybe you can start again. When was the first time you actually started the entrepreneur path? When it was the first time you discovered that you have to do something in this direction? What was the steps basically?
Yeah. So looking back, I think I registered my first business when I was, how old was I? 21 or 22. That was in 2015 when I decided to start working in the gastronomy scene in Berlin as a bartender. And I was asked to basically start my own business for that so I can invoice different bars when I work with them and help them out. And that was 2015, the first time I had no clue whatsoever what to do. And we're now talking about Germany here. So we're not talking about a country that's really into digitalization and digital things. So what we discovered, or what I had to do, was I had to be at this registry thing in person in 2015. And there was no way to do this in a digital way. Today, now there is, but back then I had to go there. I had no clue what was expected of me, and I had to register a business. And I actually had no idea why I was doing that. I discovered the why and the everything around that a couple of years later, and now I know a little bit about it.
Yes, before we go, I mean, that's very interesting what you're saying, because you literally had to basically register a business. And talking about the business, like business doesn't mean that you have a GmbH. It can be one-person company, and I believe that was something you did. I think I don't remember what was the German name for it, but I think in English it translates as a freelancer business or something like this.
Exactly.
Or like small freelancers. So I know that there are two different kinds of those. That the first one is without the VAT, right? So you don't have to pay VAT and so on, because those are basically easier to, it is much easier to start. But I was like, I mean, that's very interesting that you had to do that even as a bartender.
Yeah, so because you can do that.
You work.
You don't have to do that. In a different ways, you can also get hired. But I was basically a freelance bartender, and when you do that, you need to have a company, and you have different ideas on how you can do that. And there is a way to do that in Germany where you don't have to pay the income, or you have to pay income tax, but you don't have to pay the VAT. So there is a sales tax, and then you don't have to pay that sales tax for your services that you provide when you do not make more than, I think back then it was like 7,200 euros a year or something in revenue or in income. And I was a student, and I was in university, so I was not planning on doing that kind of money. It was just a side job, working I think 2 nights a week maximum. And so I decided to, I'll just do that, and I'll get around with it and just roll with it. And at that time I had no clue if there was a difference or something. But yes, in Germany you don't have to start with the famous GmbH. there's a lot of different ideas or a lot of different beliefs and ways of actually founding a company. The first one would be like registering your own company under your own name, which is called a single person business, basically.
Exactly. That's what you did, right?
Exactly.
And, I know that there are two ways of doing this, because that was exactly the same thing I did in Germany, right? So it's like, what was the German name for it? I always forget.
Einzelunternehmen.
Yeah, exactly. So I know there are those two, and the one is, as you said, without the VAT and without the income tax and so on, when you earn below a certain threshold. But then there's another, the second one, when you actually put all of the like VAT on your invoices, and then you have to make the tax reports, not tax reports, sorry, but income reports every month or every few months if you also like don't earn that much. So actually, I started right away from the second option, because I knew that I will definitely like
earn more,
expand, like earn more than the 7K or something. So basically, I got the accountant, but I don't want to go that far away, because what I mentioned before that, I mean, this is right now we are talking about the time when I was already in, like I already read a lot of stuff. But before that, I remember, like I had no idea about all of that. Basically, I didn't even know what is the invoice, to be honest. Like I'm not joking here. I'm not joking. I have no idea. And I remember when I was doing the Instagram, like a lot of collaborations and so on, this one company approached me. I think it was Codecademy.
Yeah.
And it was really like lucrative collaboration. I think they wanted to pay me like $500 or something when I was just 10,000, like when I had 10,000 followers. And I think it was my second collab, literally. So I was literally
that's a
shocked.
big deal.
Exactly. I was literally shocked. But the thing was that they asked me for an invoice.
Oh.
I was like, you want what?
What's that? Let's ask Google. What is an invoice?
What is the invoice and how to do it? And back then I had to Google it, and it was also like company from US, so they had those different forms, like I think W80 something or 90 something. Like there are different forms, and especially if you don't have the like any company, even not this like one single person, you still can do that basically, because there's a certain kind of income which is untaxed somehow, and you can put your personal identification number instead. So I did that, but still I wasn't even sure if it's like legal or not. I just did that. They wired me the money. I was happy, but I knew that like at some point I will have to figure out what is it all about.
So then the question now, Jakob, what is an invoice? Why do you write an invoice to your clients?
I mean that's a good question. Now, like I mean, from the like a really documental point of view, like I don't think I have a proper formula, but definitely this is something that you basically ask your client for the bill. Your client pays you the bill. It's all documented and it goes to government. So basically. Basically all of the later on tax also goes to the money, and the government has money, so we have streets and other stuff. So basically that's like very simplified formula, right? But basically it's all about documenting
exactly
all of the where the money goes and so on.
An invoice is basically your documentation of payment, and so the government knows how much money you made, how much revenue you made, and you have actually a documentation and you have a proof of actually payment. Because in the end, if I would tell you, hey, I built you a website, you now owe me 10,000 euros, you pay me 10,000 euros, and I come back 6 months later and I'm like, hey, you never paid me the 10,000 euros. Or the other way around, you come back 10 months later and you're like, well, I gave you 10,000 euros, I don't know for what. So there was never there's not a proof that I actually owed you those 10,000 euros. And that's why you send an invoice to a client, so they can actually tell and have a proof of why they sent you the money, that it's legal, that there was a reason for that. And they have a proof why they sent you that kind of money for what it is in the end. And
exactly.
When it comes to taxes, there's a lot of things like to the invoices, why you do that as well. And we're right now, these kind of things are worldwide. They're in general. That doesn't matter if you're in Germany or if you're in Poland or if you're in the United States. They work the same all over the place, all over the world.
Almost. I mean, here I can basically get in a little bit because the thing is we are basically, I mean, right now we're talking about a little bit bigger business. We are already talking about the GmbH. Of course, in every country, there's a different name for that. Like in Germany, there's GmbH. In Poland, it's called Spółka ZO. In Bulgaria, I don't even know what's the name for that. But for example, in States, I think it's LLC or LTD, right? Something like this. But it's all about having this liability, right? It's called limited liability company, which means, and that's very important, that whenever you, I don't know if you can swear here, so whenever you fail a project,
whenever you mess up,
basically, if you mess up, basically, it's not that you basically have to pay from your own pocket, but the money goes from the account of the company, and that's very important actually. Because really, like with the single person company, if you don't have those things, I mean, you really can get broke at some point if you close really huge client like a Mercedes-Benz or something, right, or Google, and something goes wrong and they sue you. I mean, you are really in trouble, and that's why also that's another thing. The big companies don't want to work with freelancers on a huge contract.
So let's get this figured out a little bit and a little straightened up. Because this is a really, really interesting and really important topic as well. So why do you actually register a company? And when it comes to, we now talked about your single person business. You're basically your one man show, which doesn't mean you need to be a one man show, but you as a private person are the same as the business. That's a single person business. And now the question is, like, in Germany we have different options that you can go with. With Miele, we started off with a GBR. The GBR is basically not a single person business, but a multi-person business, but not a business per se. And we tried to, when we did that, we tried to figure out what the actual reason is. Why would we go in different and explore different directions and different forms of companies? And I think it's really important to see, why do I actually have these kind of different ways that I can go when it comes to founding a company and having a business, which then sends out invoices and actually makes money. So when you first started off, I think that was a little more than a year ago, a year and a half ago probably, that we talked about you. And I think it was already Wojtek back then, like the two of you, which kind of form of company you should go for in Germany. And so I remember we talked a lot about it. So it was really interesting to see which kind of options there were. And why did you, like, what was the reason? Because like you said, liability, that's one of the reasons. And I think the mess up stories are going to come later, because I probably have a big one that that we can tell in a different episode, and why there is a reason to switch this. But for now, I'm really curious to get the reason. Why did you come up with the reason to found a company and actually have this like juristic person, basically, not a private person, but a business going?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons is, which I just mentioned, right? So is that you are not responsible with your own pocket money, basically. Because when you have this single person company, right, it doesn't matter if it's this client, whatever, or like the big one that you pay the VAT and so on. It's still that even though you have a business, you can hire people, you can send invoices. It's more like, government also is not really checking the accounts that much. You can kind of have them both separate, but doesn't matter if you send it to private one. Like, no one really cares that much what's the status of the bank account. And that was like a one like basically the starting point. So our accounting would got really messy, because we thought that maybe Wojtek will do exactly the same, and we'll keep basically all of our money kind of like maybe at some point in one account, and the second one will pay then later on ourselves. But that would go really messy. So we basically figure out that definitely we need to do something bigger. So that was like one of the reasons.
So let me to understand, you basically wanted to have a common bank account registered, so you have it in one place.
Yes, and with the single entity, it's kind of impossible. I mean, it's really messed up, and at some point, like all the taxes and the income, like it will get really nasty. So we had to really figure out this. I would say fast. I mean, we still. In the beginning, I mean, like, I don't know, it was like 2-3 months or 4, just having those two single companies. And it was really messy, because I was giving Wojtek access to my personal account and so on. He gave me to his, and it was really messy, right? So that's one of the reasons we really wanted to have a company account and pay ourselves salaries to our private accounts and so on. So that was the one thing. Second one, of course, the one I told about the liability. So if something goes bad, you basically only lose in the worst case scenario, the money which is in the bank, which stays in the company. But again, this one can go for the next episode, because here, I mean, we have really nice example, of course, if you want to share at some point. But again, not today, because this episode will take too much. And I want to tell you actually the third reason, and this one is actually a little bit painful, but actually it's I would say hard truth. So I remember we did a very nice job for the German client, basically. I mean, he really liked our job. And we asked him, like, like we work and so on. Like, do you maybe know someone who would be interested in such a services as we offer, right? Like some kind of automation and so on.
Yeah.
And he's a CEO. I mean, he's a CEO. He's in the business already for like 20 years or more. So he knows people. He knows other CEOs and founders, right? So he actually really wanted to give back to us. And he actually... recommended us to other guy, the German guy. They had a very nice big company, and we knew that they are looking for some kind of projects and so on. And he like added me to the mail, introduced me and so on. Even spoke to the guy. And the first mail we got was, "Hey guys, I checked the registry and so on. It looks like you don't have a GmbH. I don't think we can even like collaborate or anything, right?"
Yeah,
and that was quite painful. I mean, it really got us thinking that we should definitely do something about that, because, as I said, bigger companies, they just don't want to work with the freelancers, or like not other businesses, like official big businesses, right? So that was the third reason.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because that also comes down basically to a liability standpoint. And we had that talk when we actually had got in touch with a project that was concerning a big automotive manufacturer from southern Germany that has a star in their logo. So we got into talks with them, and so our contact told us, if we want to move on with the project, you really need to have the GmbH. You need to found that. And we asked, like, why is that a reason? So I took a deeper look into it, because they wouldn't tell me, and I figured out it's all about the liability when it comes to that. Because when you work with a bigger company, they want to be safe. Because like, for example, if I'm a student, I'm 21 years old, I'm founding a company, like a single person company, and I don't have any money. I don't have any savings. I don't have anything to my name. If I just go out and I start doing the business, and they want to know I'm serious. So they want to know I'm actually able to do this. So the first point is you have to put money down for your GmbH. You actually have to have a little bit of money saved up. So if
it's 25K, right? It's 12.5.
You basically you're liable for 25,000 euros. So
all right,
you take the 25,000 euros and you put that down. So worst case, if you mess up and you don't get the job done, they can sue you, and they get at least the 25,000 euros. That's all that's in the company that will be somehow in or for them. if you're a person, like if you're 21 years old, you don't have the GmbH, you don't have anything to your name, you do not get the job done, then they can sue you and you will file for bankruptcy, and they might get 600 euros, which is not worth anything. So there's a couple of things for later on in the company life, basically, where you even up that liability from 25 to maybe 300,000 euros, or even more than that in the GmbH. So big companies, like huge companies, are actually, they know, okay, if they can't deliver what they want to deliver, we can sue them for probably 300,000 euros. So, and that money is basically guaranteed by different kind of ways how you structure a company. But that's one of the biggest reasons why they do that, and they want to know you're serious. And so for us, it was kind of a different approach, because we were 3 founders when we started, and we were all freelancers when we started off. And the first project we did, we had the same issues you had, where it was like, okay, hey, so they're gonna pay me, you're gonna invoice me, so I can send you some of the money, you're gonna invoice him, and so back and forth. And right away it was like, okay, this is not how it's gonna work for any longer. And we decided to move on from that and take that step to start that GBR, which gave us the opportunity to to send out one invoice to a client and have the money into one bank account that was owned by all 3 of us. And we all had access to that. And then we could send out the money from that to our personal bank accounts, and had no more headaches with that. And now we moved on. We have this small GmbH, which is called the UGmbH in Germany.
The €1 company, isn't it?
The €1 company, which if you start with €1, you're basically bankrupt in the first minute, because founding it will cost the company 1,000 a little bit, probably something. So you at least need a couple of €1,000 in there, but not the 25,000. So
the process of registering, it's also like another story in different countries. I mean, like starting this in Germany, I found it the biggest, the worst, to be honest. Like the process, the notary and the cost which you pay, those are crazy. I mean, I think it's around 1,000 euros, right, to just start the company, basically, isn't it?
I think the notary. I think we paid the notary probably like 850 or something. We paid another 150 to the German tax system, basically, for registering us and all these kind of things that were in there. Yes, that was a lot of money went down. I think we just for registering the company and getting everything set at the start point was about 1,500 euros. And that was just like one of the things that we actually did on top of that I want to go into in a different podcast as well, is the brand, saving the brand name to officially register the brand, which is also a couple €100.
The trademark. The
trademark. And the registration and that kind of stuff, which is a really, really important thing. That was something I learned pretty early on, but that's also something we need to get into sometime later on. So right now, I already said that we're now a UG or UGmbH, which is just a small GmbH. And we can at any time just advance that into a GmbH and put the 25,000 euros down whenever we want. And now for me, it's like, okay, this is a big step. A lot of people are actually founding companies left and right, and getting 25,000 euros from as a loan from the bank is pretty easy for that. For the down payment, there's no issue with that.
But you can also use it. That's very important to say it here, because some people, I mean, I was the one who was thinking that you have to pay 25 euros. I mean, in Germany it's 25 euros. And in Poland, I think it's around 1.5k euros. In Bulgaria, actually it's like nothing, but it's better to put something. Like every country differs. I think in Germany I think you told me once that in where was it? Denmark or something. It's like really crazy amount. Like it's much more than 25K.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, like definitely there's some country when it costs even more. But what's very important to mention here is it's not the money you pay, it's the money you put to the business and you can reuse it later on.
Yes.
So which means you can spend it for business expenses, which also means you can pay yourself.
Well, and that's the tricky part. So what you can do is you get the 25,000 euros, you put them down into the company, which means the company is right now worth 25,000 euros.
Yeah.
So if somebody gets to sue you, he can sue you for 25,000 euros, nothing else. But those 25,000 euros, they will always be the worth of the company. That's the least amount that the company is going to be worth at any time, basically. But the problem in that is a little more into you can expand, like you can pay with that money. That's money. That money is going to be in the bank account. One thing my accountant told me was like, yes, you can pay yourself from that, but if you
have to
do
pay
that,
taxes on that.
no, yes, you also have to pay taxes on that. But if you do that and you pay yourself on that, and then your business runs out of money, and the bank comes running and is like, okay, we need our money, they're gonna come to your personal account. And then not only the business is bankrupt, but also you're gonna have to pay everything back yourself. Okay. And that's paying yourself in with the salary from that kind of money is possible, but not really advised. And so that's the biggest reason why we did not do that yet, because we said to ourselves like, okay, we don't have a lot of expenses right now. Running a software agency fully remote comes with the upside of not having a lot of cost. So
it really depends. I mean, you are 4 founders basically, right? It's a little bit different, but if you really like, I would say hire developers, those are the biggest expenses. Sure, of course. Those are the biggest expenses. But at the same time, we are 4 people. Our biggest expense is our own salary. And salary is always going to be the biggest expense. And if I have 25,000 euros for a business and I'm going to buy MacBooks for 25,000 euros, I do have something to put against those 25,000 euros. So if somebody comes, I can sell those MacBooks. I'll probably not get 25,000 euros, but I might get 18,000 euros. So the bank is only going to come for 7,000 euros to me personally. If I spend 25,000 euros on salary for other people, I cannot come back and go like, okay, but if I sell those people, basically I'll get 18,000 euros. You cannot do that. So that's why the we try to have this like capital of the company set and not touch it for salary. And if we would need to touch it, it would be for any like material other things, expenses. Investments that have a worth for like a Porsche or maybe my Ferrari next year or something. But remember to lease it. True.
But so that's one of the interesting things. So. In conclusion,
I mean, it would be nice to sorry for interrupting, but it would be nice to talk in the future also regarding the actual expenses as our kind of business. So the software agency would be really nice because even though there are not that many as much as you said because of the remote work, I mean there are plenty. I mean we are running a lot of subscriptions and tools, and those costs really like sum up to bigger numbers. So I would definitely talk about this kind of things. And another thing, but I mean this show is already getting a little bit too long, so I also wanna put it to the new one, would be to talk actually about taxes, accountants, and the reports of income and so on, because that's also like really interesting topic, especially starting out, right? The topic, if you should invest in an account, if you should do it by your own, and so on. So I would
we'll get into
that will be the teaser. That will be the teaser for the next episode, maybe, because this is very important. But again, we don't want to keep those episodes very, very long.
Yes.
So, I mean,
in conclusion, let's wrap it up a little bit. In general, we talked about all those different companies that are out there, forms of companies. There's different laws all over. Every country has their own law. In the United States, for example, every state has their own law, so it really depends on where you're at. And I think it's worth getting into Google if you want to start a company, figure out what kind of form of company is the best for you to start off with.
It's very funny when there are different regions, for example, in Switzerland with different taxes. I think the Zug, is it that Zug called? Yeah, there was like a Ethereum founders actually started there, like companies, like a lot of companies actually started there because I think, is it income tax or corporate tax? Like one of the taxes, basically there is like one of the lowest.
Yeah.
So it's also really interesting topic to kind of talk in the future. Like
yes, we definitely will get into taxes. I was at my
tax heavens.
Yes, there's a lot of things that I learned in the last couple of weeks about that. So a lot of things that I can share in the future. But so figure out where's the best place to start your company. It might not be the place you are living at right now. Maybe it's worth moving somewhere else, because with your business you can have your company registered somewhere else, and you can save some taxes on that. But in general, it's really a big topic to figure out what kind of business you should start, where you should start, and how to structure all of that. And my biggest advice to everybody basically out there that starts...
But it's not the financial advice, by the way.
What?
Not the financial.
It's not advice. A financial advice at all. No. But the biggest and the best advice that I have out there is find yourself a really good accountant.
Oh yeah.
And that's basically the This is where we can end it now, because that's what I tell everybody.
Perfect.
And that's the biggest takeaway from years of working in business in Texas. Get yourself a really good accountant that you can trust and that knows their business.
Exactly. I can only agree with that. I have actually 2 accountants. And right now I have 3 accountants. So,
bro,
totally agree.
You're scaling up so fast. This is crazy.
Yeah, we can talk in the expansion in the future. I mean, there are a lot of topics to cover in the future, so I'm really hyped for this podcast, especially because vacation period is over, and a lot of companies came back, a lot of founders came back. Everyone actually want to work right now again. So yeah, a lot of podcasts will come, a lot of nice topics will come. And also in person, not like today. I mean, that's something new we tried. I mean, why not in those remote world nowadays, right? But definitely, yeah, I'm hyped. So
perfect. Yeah. So if you want to learn more, first of all, thank you for listening. We will come up with a couple of more podcasts in the next couple of weeks. So we have a big pipeline of topics that we want to talk about. And if you want to learn more about Jakob, you can find him on Instagram at Jakobowski. You can find the link in the description as well. And you can probably reach out to him at Jakob Wolitzki on LinkedIn. I hope that was
everywhere.
right.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah,
LinkedIn.
Exactly.
LinkedIn will work out probably. My name is Hendrik Niehues on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Instagram at CodingNemo. And probably if you have any questions or something, you can always reach out to us, and we'll try to get everything answered as soon as possible.
Perfect. All right, guys, then thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening.
See you in the next one.
See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.